Ladies and gentlemen, this is huge. According to people around President Trump's administration, Elizabeth Warren was potentially part of a cover-up. One of the many cover-ups pertaining to the most popular candidate of all time, Joe Biden. In less than 4 years, he was usurped by his vice president. Why did that take place? Because of one debate performance. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. Wonderful, morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrats love to live in a facade, in an illusion of their own making. They stated that Biden was the most popular candidate of all time. The numbers show that. President Trump contested results, and it was the end of the world. And then in less than 4 years, they kicked Biden and they kicked the president, sitting president, to the curb, and they said, no, we want Kamala Harris because we're embarrassed of Biden. So much so that, and hit subscribe to this channel right now, so much so that George Clooney wrote that he needs to step down. Why would Hollywood, the same industry that propped up and catapulted Biden 4 years ago, 5 years ago, come to the rescue, quote unquote, for Democrats, push Biden to the curb, so to speak, and have his vice president usurp him? He won his primary. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. There might be a situation where Elizabeth Warren, Trump AI czar David Sachs claims Senator Elizabeth Warren controlled the AUTOPEN. Well, listen to this. Why did they do away with politically with Biden? Why? Why didn't Biden stay? That's the question, ladies and gentlemen. If you're a morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrat, you look in the mirror and say, I'm so moral and just, and people love me, and I'm on the right side of history, then why did you push for, God bless him, an elderly man who now has physical, ailments, and God bless him, I wish him the best, but why did all these morally superior liberal Democrats push a man who was not capable of serving 4 years mentally and physically? And in less than 4 years, they embarrassed him and the country, forced him out, and then pardoned preemptively all these people who almost certainly committed crimes, from Liz Cheney to Schiff to others. They almost certainly committed crimes. And then you have, yet still, the wonderful, highly educated, morally superior, pontificating and preaching, lecturing, and condemning everyone who disagrees with them, when the entire planet asks a very simple question. If Biden won his primary, why did they kick him out? In the comments section, here's a question I need to ask. Why did they cheat Bernie Sanders in 2016? Why did they cheat Biden after he won his primary in 2020? Why? Why do they even have functioning? Why do they have primaries? This is David Sachs talking about Elizabeth Warren.
Not at all. No, look, this is a huge, thriving community. There's so many people involved. It just keeps getting bigger and better every year. This is just partisan rhetoric from the Democrats. This is the financial system of the future, Jesse, and we have to encourage it. What the Biden administration was doing, and let's face it, it wasn't Biden. Elizabeth Warren controlled the AUTOPEN during that administration. She, for some reason, has this pathological hatred of the crypto community. She wants to drive this community offshore. She doesn't want it happening in the United States. That's the wrong policy for the United States. We want all the innovation happening here. This is a financial system of the future. It's cheaper. It's more efficient. We want it happening here, Jesse, and I think people are thrilled that President Trump is making that possible.
You're saying Bitcoin is the currency of the future. Am I going to be?
So this is one of the first statements, public statements pertaining to Elizabeth Warren being part of a potential cover-up. Okay, the issue is Warren is a prototypical Democrat, pontificates, preaches about the working class, and yet under Biden, really quickly, first of all, she didn't back Bernie Sanders. I was the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post in 2015 and 2016. And I was the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. It's embarrassing for both me and the people who still support Bernie Sanders. The one or two people who actually still support is probably Bernie Sanders is a tool of the Democratic Party to deceive idealistic voters back into the Democratic Party so they can have primaries that are complete farces and theatrical performance. Anyway, Democrats claim to care so much about the working class. Then why do things get worse? Overall, it was almost a 20% increase from when Biden took over to when he left. 19.4%. Food up 21%. Shelter up 22%. Energy up 32%. where nobody hyperventilated about the 20% increase in price for overall goods, food, shelter, and energy. Far more than 20% for energy. Where was Elizabeth Warren talking about how terrible Biden's policies were? Oh, that's right. Warren didn't back Bernie Sanders in 2016. That should tell you something. She backed Clinton, which you would think there's no actual functioning political philosophy with Democrats. It's only a never-ending quest for political power, tribalism, and it's devolved into an atheistic political religion. Atheists who claim to be liberal Democrats actually have a religion. It's called the Democratic Party. Their deities, one of their deities is Elizabeth Warren. But listen to this.
Right, so for years, President Trump has gone after Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren over her unsubstantiated claims that she is part Native American. Critics have accused Warren of using her so-called minority status to get ahead professionally. And now, after years of refusing to engage, she is now finally releasing all of the related documents with regard to this that she had. Chief National Correspondent Ed Henry, live with the story tonight. Hi, Ed.
Martha, good to see you. Some still not satisfied, though, because the president has been raising questions about whether Senator Warren lied. But there are a lot of conservatives tonight saying what Warren and some in the media are doing is shifting the goalpost now and saying, well, it's complicated what she did or didn't say, but the bottom line is she did not use her heritage to get a better job at Harvard, so case closed. Well, critics of Warren are saying not so fast. In fact, she knows this could be damaging to her reelection this year, to any potential presidential run down the road. So she decided to cooperate with this Boston Globe investigation. They dug through hundreds of documents, spoke to 31 of the 52 law professors still living who were at Harvard Law School in the 90s. All but one of the 31 said the claims about her ethnicity were not discussed in the hiring process. The other one person said even if it came up, it did not impact his vote on her appointment to the faculty. Still, the Globe noted there's confusion because prior to all that, Warren listed herself as a quote-unquote minority before the University of Pennsylvania offered her a job. Even though the law school's dean wrote in a 1987 document, Warren was the best candidate despite being quote-unquote white. Then, 3 years after taking the Penn job, she asked the university to change her listed ethnicity to Native American. Well, the president at a recent rally demanded she clear it up.
So why did Elizabeth Warren claim to be Native American numerous times or a minority? That's very bizarre for Elizabeth Warren to do when she was not a minority. Typical morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrat. Now she's a part of a potential cover-up. Check this out.
What do you make? Where do we go next in terms of your investigation? There are senior staff. There are, starting with Jill Biden, right, the first lady. You have the chief of staff. You have Neera Tanden, who had these dual responsibilities and perhaps was in control of the AUTOPEN. You have the cabinet. You have other senior staff that are interacting with them, but they were routinely directed and told us that Joe Biden was of clear cognitive capability, that he was sharp as a tack. And yet they went after and criticized Special Counsel Hur for his questioning and coming up with the summary that says, yeah, this is an old man who really has a hard time.
Yeah, I mean, that was breathtaking. That was her being nice to Joe Biden, but warning America, look, we've got a serious issue here with the President of the United States. Anytime people like me or Jim Jordan raise the question publicly whether or not Joe Biden was fit to serve as president, people like Jake Tapper and people in the legacy media attacked us. They called us insincere, rude, just the worst names in the world. Now they've all turned on a dime, and they're doing what we knew all along. They're trying to say, oh, there was a cover up. Someone covered up. We know there was a cover up. The media, as usual, the legacy media is late to the game. What we want to know is who was in the ringleader of the cover-up, but who was making the decisions. I mean, there were some major decisions made by Joe Biden, especially in the last 3 months of his administration.
So it could be that Elizabeth Warren was part of the decision-making process. Very likely Biden was not. That is very sad. But see, the way Democrats govern the country is the way they govern or they wield power within their political party. Democrats demand the Democratic voters do as they're told, listen, and just fall in line, walk in lockstep, and never ask questions. That's the way they expected the country to react. But we don't, the cult is not the Trump supporter. The Trump supporter likes Trump because of his policies. They like record low poverty we had with Trump when Trump was first in office. We had 4 years of Biden. The country went back to Trump because we want peace deals and end to never-ending wars. We want manufacturing jobs brought back to the United States of America, and Americans want immigration laws enforced. Okay, that's three major things that Trump is doing to protect and help this country. But I wouldn't vote for President Trump if, dare I say, with all due respect, he spoke or communicated like Biden. And only Democrats would expect the entire country to just simply ignore that, because they don't even have functioning primaries. So did Elizabeth Warren, was she a part of the cover-up? According to David Sachs, she was. Hit subscribe. This is huge. And I do think, I think that if Elizabeth Warren is under oath and she lies, which she will almost certainly have to, she'll be indicted for that, lying under oath. Hit subscribe to this channel right now.